Now, the top of the hour on the Progressive Voices channel on TuneIn presents the Green News Report.
This past summer, the Florida Keys saw its most intense and relentless marine heat wave ever.
Record heat wave decimated Florida's coral reefs. The plastics industry knew for 50 years that recycling didn't work and deceived the public about it. Plus,
22% of species listed by the UN's Convention of Migratory Species are at risk of extinction.
Nearly half the world's migratory species are in decline, UN study finds.
All of those cheerful stories and more straight ahead from BradBlog.com. I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
Stand by for 6 minutes of independent green news, politics, analysis, and snarky comment.
My friend Jimmy bought an electric car. He's very excited about it. Then he bought an electric blanket. Then he bought an electric guitar. Then he bought an electric chair, and I haven't heard from him.
This is your Green News Report. Okay, Desi Doyen, here we go again out here in Southern California with another atmospheric river just deluging us out here for the next 3 days or so.
Yep, nearly the entire state is under flash flood alerts, and so it's a good time to ask if your community is upgrading its infrastructure for extreme weather.
I doubt it. What else you got for us today?
Sad news, unfortunately, for Florida's coral reefs. A new survey of 5 reefs in the Florida Keys shows extensive damage from a severe, long-lasting marine heat wave last year, when water temperatures topped 90 degrees Fahrenheit. The prolonged heat killed more than 3/4 of human-cultivated coral that scientists had transplanted in the Keys to boost the coral's chance of survival. The NOAA researchers also found widespread death among wild coral. Scientists blamed human-caused global warming and the intense El Niño weather pattern in the Pacific for making the water too hot for coral, which is also affecting related species like plankton.
I was going to say, what happens when the coral dies?
It destabilizes marine ecosystems, and it's doing it around the world, and that has dangerous implications for the ocean food web. Ocean heat globally hit a new all-time record high late last week, breaking high-temperature records set just last summer. Again, due to man-made global warming boosted by El Niño. Current global sea surface temperatures are more in line with June, and that has hurricane forecasters very worried because ocean heat provides fuel for hurricanes later this summer.
In the middle of February, we have heat as if the ocean was thinking it's June?
Yes.
That's not good.
In other news, nearly half the world's migratory species are in decline. That's according to a groundbreaking new report from the United Nations. And worse, more than 22% of species currently listed as threatened on the UN's Convention on Migratory Species are now at risk of extinction. The biggest threats to migratory species are overexploitation and habitat destruction by humans, pollution, invasive species, and climate change.
Humans.
Some good-ish news. The U.S. is on track for its warmest winter on record, and those mild temperatures have slashed demand for natural gas. The Financial Times reports natural gas prices have plummeted by more than 50% since mid-January, just as production has surged to record levels. Less burning of natural gas means less emissions, less air pollution, and, side bonus, helps accelerate the demise of coal.
I'll take it.
Meanwhile, President Biden traveled to East Palestine, Ohio late last week to mark the one-year anniversary of the chemical train derailment that caused a massive environmental disaster. Biden detailed the administration's ongoing efforts to help the community recover, saying federal agencies will remain on site as long as it takes. Biden called on Congress to finally pass long-awaited rail safety reform legislation, and he placed the blame squarely on the train company, Norfolk Southern.
While there are acts of God, this was an act of greed that was 100% preventable. You know, multi-million-dollar railroad companies transporting toxic chemicals have responsibility to do it safely. And again, Norfolk Southern failed.
And speaking of greed, Norfolk Southern's derailed train was carrying flammable toxic vinyl chloride, a key ingredient in plastics manufacturing. Now, a new blockbuster report from the Center for Climate Integrity has uncovered internal documents revealing how the oil and plastic industries knew more than 50 years ago that plastic recycling was not technically or economically viable at scale. The report shows how the industries launched a misleading public campaign over decades using deception to falsely promote plastic recycling as a solution, profiting from fueling the world's gargantuan plastic pollution crisis, all while forcing the cost burden of plastic waste onto consumers and communities.
It's almost as if the industry has more say to our politicians than the consumers do.
Mm-hmm.
Weird. For much more on all of these stories and the ones we couldn't get to today, check out our website at greennews.bradblog.com. I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
And this has been your Green News Report.
Please help Progressive Voices support the Green News Report by stopping by bradblog.com/donate.
PV brings you the best progressive audio and video in one free stream. Stephanie Miller, Tom Hartman, Randy Rhodes, David Packman, Brad Friedman, and more. Search Progressive Voices on the TuneIn app. Download the free Progressive Voices app or go to progressivevoices.com.